Hello to my friends at SeemsGoodMagic.com. This is Travis Sowers, aka Simulin. We're going to jump in and do another Shadows over Innistrad 8.4 draft. Wanted to say thanks to the folks who have come to visit the stream from the draft videos here, and thanks to the folks who have come to visit the draft videos here from the stream. It's been kind of some awesome crossover. If you haven't checked out the stream yet, do yourself a favor. Come say hi. It's at twitch.tv/Simulin. All right, we will jump in here in just a moment. All right, here we go. Well, let's get everything set up before I babble about other cards and then probably take a Soul Swallower. Like, this is okay as a Hill Giant with Trample. Like, it's relevant. I guess the discussion point here is, do you want the Soul Swallower or do you want Pour Over Pages? I guess you could talk about Sinister Concoction too. The big challenge for me is the more and more that I've played this format, the more that I've decided green is just deep enough and good enough that I kind of want to be green. I don't know if I'm supposed to take Sinister Concoction over it. I mean, it is a premium removal spell, and you don't get the opportunity to get many of those. I've just, like, Soul Swallower can just, it's okay at its worst, and if you're able to enable it, it's fantastic. I guess it's a heavy commitment to green, but Sinister Concoction's a heavy commitment to black. In many cases, you want to be able to play and activate it in the same turn. It probably leads to more busted shenanigans, but I'm going to take the Soul Swallower here. I have an admitted preference for green, and if I can be green, I would like to be green. Herman goes right in with that plan. I like Stitchwing Scab a lot. I think it suffers a bit from the fact that there are silent observers, aka the Blue Terminate, out there, as well as lots of spiders. But Soul Swallower into Herman is a fine start. I think a 2/3 is just fine, and the fact that it does more and messes with your opponent's combat tricks. It kind of destroys counter spells. Like, nobody wants to deal with that mess. And surprisingly enough, it plays well with counter spells if you end up blue-green, because you can flip it and then still have something to do on their turn. So I think this is just kind of everything that I want to be happening so far. Leaves us open to go into werewolves. Like, this guy's fine in a deck like red-green if you're going to play some combat tricks or whatever. Here's a tough one. We've got the Rattle Chains, which is pretty dang good. 2 mana, 2/1. It's a thing. There's also a Dauntless Cathar. And, like, I know the green-white Delirium decks probably get a little boring to watch sometimes, but they're so good. And I like to win. I feel like Rattle Chains is pretty good. I feel like Dauntless Cathar is just great. I think we've got to keep in mind is that the Rattle Chains may indicate we will be seeing more blue. And it does play really nicely with some of the green werewolves. You know, I'm going to speculate here on the Rattle Chains, as I do like green-blue. We'll hate ourselves if we see a amazing white card next, but I've seen good things happen with Rattle Chains. Now, obviously, we're not likely to have a whole lot of other spirits. It's not impossible that we'll have other spirits, but not super likely. Now, Kessig Frogmaster is one of the better werewolves. So I'm kind of stuck here between whether I want to take the Frogmaster or the Stitch Mangler. I think Stitch Mangler is basically the best blue common, and seeing it here is kind of like saying, hey dude, you can take blue, you can play blue. Note, we're not seeing any green. So I think what I might want to do is take the Mangler and solidify myself in, okay, blue's open, let's take the blue cards. And we can pair blue with something else if we have to, or if we're able to, pick up some green, that's great. Like, I think a less disciplined pick might be to take the Forge Master and say, maybe we're werewolves. But I'm kind of thinking green's getting cut hard, and we should be prepared to deal with that. Along a similar line, we could consider taking the Fox or the Reaper here. I mean, there's a Watcher in the web if we still want to say we're green, but I don't necessarily see that happening. I could take Drownyard Explorers. They're fine. They don't really want to be in the same deck with a Stitched Mangler, but I mean, they're a serviceable blue card. I wouldn't hate taking the Fox and then trying to do Rattle Chains, Stitched Mangler, Fox shenanigans, but I don't think the Fox is the card I'm going into white for. So I think I'm going to take the Explorers and just continue to say, okay, we know we're blue, we can play blue, let's do that and see what else is open. Here, I'm tempted between Thornhide Wolves, which I think are just great. If you can resolve these guys, they're just huge. I also like 3/5s. But I think I want to first Confront the Unknown. It's our first non-creature spell, which is relevant. It's one of the better cards here. I'm kind of off throttle, by the way. And maybe blue-green is a possibility. That's where this card is at its best. And it's certainly okay in all the other decks. Scrutiny certainly wants to be in this deck too. I was going to say let's take this Woodland Stream and make our mana better. But yeah, let's get Scrutinizing here. Dudes and Tricks the deck. Now that's interesting to see that go all the way around the table because I think it's a better card than that. I have previously mentioned I like 3/5s. And I cannot lie. They just block so much. I like 4/5s better. I could take the Landscape, but that's so bad. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Lamplighter. There's a slight nod to the Emissary of the Sleepless. I like that card quite a bit too. I don't know that we play this, but we might. Well, there's a Terminate here. Let's take that. This is one of the best blue removal spells. And there's another one. Do I want that? I probably do. I say that it's a removal spell because it just blocks everything. There's another option to take Ghostly Wings to enable potential madness shenanigans and to plop on a big thing. But like we're in a good state of blue cards here. And to that end, I'm going to pass the white and black one. I think it's relatively unlikely we want a Shard. Like this is just kind of not an equipment deck. Unless it's the right equipment, which none of these are. So I'm going to hack an unplayable blue card to kind of let my neighbors know what's up. Broken Concentration I don't often main, but I have. If I get a few more werewolves, I will. And this guy's not amazing, but it's serviceable. I guess what we're really looking for now is like a ongoing investigation or an amazing card of another color. Like I wouldn't be opposed to shifting a little bit. I'm not going to shift a lot of bit. Like I don't think Olivia is the direction we want to go in. Call the Bloodline certainly can be broken, but this is not really a deck that it's going to be broken in. I don't even love Just the Wind in blue decks. I mean, bounce spells are okay, but you have to remember that they only temporarily solve a problem. If your opponent has a lot of combat tricks, they can be pretty good. You can get some blowouts there, but you have to be in a position where you can already block before they're even going to mess with that. It can save your dude from like a sleep paralysis or something. Like the real debate for me is, do I take Fiery Temper and see if red is just more open than blue? Or do I take just the Wind? Because I probably do play one copy, even though I'm super unhappy to be doing it here. I think the upside's higher on taking the Fiery Temper. Like maybe we see some good red cards. Like hearing, well, I was thinking I could take the Call of the Bloodline and get past an Indulgent Aristocrat. I didn't say it, but I thought it really hard. And here we go. So now options include but are not limited to. Just go ahead and give up on the green and go into like a blue-red Madness deck, Madness/Tempo deck. We're going to need some Madness enablers, specifically looters, which are uncommons. And we're not super likely to get. Call's not going to wheel. Somebody's going to take it and then get this Aristocrat, and they're probably going to win the draft, which is cool. But like we could take the Youths and then try to get the Tormenting Voices back. I think it's probably time to just take the best cards and see what's up. Like here's a Geist Blast. I think blue-red is open. Was the last draft I did for Seems Good blue-red? I can't remember. I think it might have been. I mean, there's also a fork in the road. There's another Explorers. Like, it doesn't look like we're doing the Blue-Red Spells deck, which is a deck. It looks like we're doing the Blue-Red Madness deck, which is going to depend on us wheeling, like, Catalog. And, I mean, we'd be interested in an Aberrant Researcher here, but it would be primarily as a 3/2 flyer. We'll take a Geist Blast, though. The Lamplighter doesn't really go in this deck, and you're not super crazy about Silent Observers either, but Blood Mad Vampire does. It's kind of about playing little dudes and attacking. Drowned Yard Explorers are fine because they at least replace themselves. So this is not a terrible start. The Counterspell is actually okay in this kind of deck too. It's not so much a Madness card unless, again, we get lucky and see a late Looter. Which we could, I suppose. Pyrehound is okay. Arsonist is kind of just better. Randomly Black's been wide open this pack. I kind of didn't see that coming. Slightly regretting not being in Black-Red, because like all of the good stuff for that deck is just going right past us. So how many spells am I playing right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we're likely to play more making Pyrehound a consideration, but I could just take the Arsonist as a replacement for the Lamplighter and be pretty happy with it. These guys are just big. Like, your bounce spells start to be good there. Yeah, I know this doesn't look like your normal blue-red deck, but that's kind of what I want to be doing. Like, Niblis is fine. It's not exciting. Senseless Rage would be interesting if we had more Madness stuff. We currently don't. I'm, again, looking to wheel, like, the Tormenting Voices and Catalogs of the world. Devil's okay, but I'll play about as many Scrutinies as I can get. Now we're starting to get to where it's conceivable that we could have enough spells to take advantage of something. If I don't get a couple Madness Enablers, even bad ones, then I don't think this deck quite gets there, but there's a pack left for us to find it. I really didn't expect to go into red, but I think we're starting to see the red cards here. There's the first catalog. I think I'm pretty happy with that. We've got to get up to 4 mana before we can really do some damage with it. But I can see this getting there. Rush is the most playable card here. I don't know that it makes it in, but it might. I seem to remember the last draft I did wanting to be blue-red spells and not quite getting there. Yeah, maybe I should have just taken the Pyrehound. But this feels like a Pyrehound that's already enabled. I don't know if I want 2 catalogs. We'd have to see like another Pyrehound or something, but I might. Same with the Seagraph Scab. Yeah, Triskaidekaphobia going pretty late too. Chasm is interesting. So we've got an interesting start here. Let's do a little Madness Enabler plus Madness Cards view over here. And then separately we'll do a spells count. Sure, you can have your Chaplain's Blessing. So I guess you could, if you have 7 mana, catalog out a Broken Concentration, but I'm not really counting that. So that puts us up to 4 Madness cards with 2 enablers, which is fine, not great. It's just some synergy. And we're up to a decent number of spells. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's sort of realistic for a Pyrehound. I think I still want the first Gotstoff Arsonist. It not having trample and like the prowess scare is a thing. But as I mentioned when I was thinking we were green, I do like red werewolves with instants. And these Silent Observers are kind of weird here. But I'm looking at them as pseudo removal spells. Well, I guess if we want to go for it now, we could take the Rise from the Tides, wheel the Pyrehound, and then maybe look at getting this last catalog in here and maybe do a thing. I'm not opposed to that. Like, if we wheel the Pyrehound, great. Some of this stuff we can cut. Like I'm not crazy about the homunculus. Mangler's just okay here. All right, maybe we're doing it. Maybe we're doing it. If we are doing it, Dance with Devils is another great thing for that deck. It's probably not the best card here. I really like Missionaries. You don't even have to work much to get an equipment in this set. Threadbit Inspector's great, but Dance with Devils kind of plays on both angles here. It makes dudes. It's a spell. It does all the things. That gives us a surprisingly high creature count for this deck. Let's say that we are playing the creatureless version, so to speak. I would probably just cut here. I still like Arsonists in that deck. Like, you can get in some damage with it or trade something. Drowned Explorers at least cycle. The Niblis can poke in for some damage if you don't hit your Rise from the Tides. Like, you can't say you're a Rise from the Tides deck if you don't, if you only have one copy. Black continues to be absurdly open. I hope we face that deck in the finals. I'm going to take another Fiery Temper and basically grab any Tormenting Voice I see from here on out. Graph Mole says what's up. Kibler is here. I can't really explain why I'm seeing all these cards from all these colors. There's nothing for us here. So I guess, as I have a tendency to do, I've finally gone in on a deck only to find that it's too late. What of these do we care the most about? Probably the Quilled Wolf, or the Graph Mole. So I'll just hack something. I don't often hate draft, but when I do, it's a Graph Mole. We're pretty far away from using any of this. Malevolent Whispers, while it is a spell, and we could madness it out at instant speed with Catalog if we've got 7 mana. Like, you remember the Steal Your Dude effect from Oath? Or was it in Battle? I can't remember. But it wasn't that good. Masquerade, I suppose, gives us an option of siding in some heavier hitters, but I just don't really like any of these cards. I'm going to take the Whispers. I don't think we play it. Like, we're 3 cards short from a deck. I'm sure we can pick up something. He said, hopefully. I hope it's not that. But it might be. Sanguinary Mage is another creature I'll pick up. I'm not ready to go for pieces of the puzzle, but this is at least something while we're sifting through all this air it can attack and block. Yeah, we just did not get what I wanted at all. It seemed like a different pair of colors were open for each pack. I had a draft like this yesterday on stream. I can take the Homunculus. If we have to fill out a deck with that, we can. And I couldn't figure out what was up, and then I played like... Well, hi, hello there, Powerhound. I played like 2 4-color decks in a row. It's like, oh, okay. People are just trying stuff and things. Okay. We wheeled the cards we wanted to wheel. So we'll do another little count and see how far off I am. This is not the best Rise from the Tides deck I have had, but it'll work. Surprisingly, those late wheels were kind of exactly what we wanted. Nagging Thoughts goes in this deck too, and may be better than one of our dudes. We will have to decide that in a minute. Hulking Devil gives us an interesting option to sideboard in. I think I'd rather have that than the Deny Existence. Although I am maining a Broken Concentration, which is just a harder to cast Deny Existence in most cases. Because, well, we could still 7 mana catalog it. I'm going to dream big. People have kind of stopped playing around counterspells in Limited, and I think I can use that to my advantage. Let's have a way to blow up an artifact if we want it, sure. Let's have a way to blow up an artifact if we want it, sure. Alright, so I think I'm going to cut a dude, because now that we've got the Pyrehound and the Rise from the Tides and the Niblis and the Sanguinary Mage, I think we can cut one dude and have a realistic deck. So what plays the worst with what we're trying to do? I mean, Explorers blocks and buys us a lot of time. The Utes are interesting with all these catalogs, which are better than Dogalogs. I could play 16 lands, which isn't absurd, given that we've got all of this mana filtering. It is a little absurd in that I want double red and double blue, because there's not really a creature I want to cut. Like the Rattle Chains gets better with the counterspells and the catalogs and the Jace's Scrutinies. Yeah, I think I should probably cut something because the deck has enough stuff to do with its mana, like discard lands to catalog or Tormenting Voice if we don't need them, crack the clues we get off of the Scrutiny. It could just be that Broken Concentration isn't good enough to make the cut. That would still give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 spells for Rise from the Tides. And God forbid we Geist Blast back a Rise from the Tides. I think I can start without that, even though I've babbled about how much I love it, and just let it go, because I think we're going to be happy to have 17 lands in this deck. I've been playing a surprising number of 18 landers in draft and been happy about it. I think we get hurt worse from missing on blue than we do red. I understand that makes the Tormenting Voice, Fiery Temper, Dream a little harder, but I can deal with that. I think we've got a mulligan hands that don't have blue. God, catalog Nagging Thoughts. I do wish I had a bounce spell now, to be fair. I was saying I didn't want it, but that's when we're looking at a pile of cards that was what, those and a Stitched Mangler? Something around there? Whereas now I'm like, ugh, if we only had Adjust the Wind. But here we are. All right, cool. Let's Rise from the Tides, my friends. I'll see you for round 1 in just a minute.